Good afternoon, guys. In today's video I'm going to be going over 6 things that I hate about my 2013 lifted Chevrolet Silverado. Now this truck specifically has the 5.3 V8 Ecotec 3 engine, which also offers the E85 fuel capabilities. This truck also is a 4-wheel drive with the Z71 off-road package. Okay guys, so the first thing that I hate about my 2013 lifted Silverado is the dent on my brush guard. The chrome brush guard here did not have any dents or scratches or anything when I first bought it, but it now has this pretty bad noticeable dent here. You actually can't really notice it from when you're from a distance, but you can notice it when you're really up front. And what happened was that I was pulling up to a gas station. I didn't notice one of those little things that they have in the front, those metal poles that stop people from hitting the building, I guess. And I was on my phone or something and I accidentally ran into it. I just tapped it and put a big dent into it. At least it's not on the full bar here, so that can always be fixed. I was also possibly thinking about blacking out the whole thing. I'd obviously have to sand all the chrome off, take the whole thing down, knock the dent out, probably put like a bed liner or a black paint over it. It'd probably make it look a lot better. But yeah, it's not that noticeable. That's why I've kind of left it go for now. It's also pretty cold out. It's funny because I was just out here the other day and it was 55 degrees 2 days after Christmas. Now it's a little bit below 40 degrees and I'm kind of cold out here. Okay, now for the second thing I hate about my truck. If you come over here, the light's not shining so you can't really see it as well, but there's a scratch there. There's some scuffs here, scratches. And you can see some there. Some on the tailgate. And yeah, you can find some on this side as well. Now, to note, when I first bought this truck had 0 scratches, 0 dents, nothing. There was no imperfections to this truck. Absolutely. There was just nothing there. Now, one might ask, how did I get all these scratches and dents? Well, the main reason that I got probably 95% of the scratches that I got on this truck was that I was off-roading during the winter time on my stock bald tires. It was a terrible idea. I went off the ruts because someone was coming the other way. I was the nice person in the situation to leave the ruts of people that were driving on, and I just started sliding down the hill and I had to floor it so many times to get it out of there, and I was hitting trees and everything, scratching up, kicking up rocks and everything, and that's what led to the demise of the 2013. Okay, so now for the third thing that I hate about my lifted Silverado is actually in the inside of the truck. It's not something that you can see driving down the road. Most people really wouldn't care, but it's something that I really hate, honestly. Okay, so now here in the inside of the truck, it's actually torn on my seat cover for the driver's seat. It's torn on the other side as well. It's actually stopped getting worse. Like, this is as bad as it's gonna really get unless I really do something hard or jump out of the seat and just slide on the seat cover. But it's been fine. I mean, I don't really sit on this part, the side. I sit on this, so really it's not gonna get dirty here or anything. But you know, opening the door and seeing that, it's kind of gets old after a while. For the fourth thing that I hate about my 2013 Chevrolet Silverado, and this can actually be seen from the outside, is actually on the back of my truck. Let's go back there now. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but right there is a little dent, and whenever the sun is shining, you're driving behind my vehicle, you can really notice that little small dent back there on the truck. Now, I think how I got that is that I was off-road and I needed to back up to turn around because I couldn't go any farther, and I think I backed up into a tree limb, and I think that limb was just sticking out. I think someone cut it, or it was winter time or something. I backed up and I just smacked right into it, and that's what led to the dent back there on the tailgate. Now, one might be saying, well, that's not even that bad, it's not even that noticeable, but for this new of a truck and being my first truck, and you know, I never really went through that many bad scenarios on this vehicle, well, that kind of really pisses me off. Okay, so now for the fifth thing that I hate about my 2013 lifted Silverado is the gear ratio. I have 3.42 gear ratio on my truck. Now, when you're running bigger tires and a lift kit, 3.42 is not going to cut it at all for even, honestly, 33s. People say that you can run 33s with 3.42 gear ratio, but I don't like it. Now, a positive about this gear ratio is that when you're on the highway or you're driving through the city, it's actually a really good thing to have because it searches for the best gear, for the best gas mileage. So it is really good on gas to have this gear ratio. That's why they put them on some trucks. But honestly, I don't like it at all because if you're hammering down the gas, you're gonna go through a gear or two. Now, I shouldn't really be complaining because this is a 6-speed and they are making a 10-speed, so that's probably really bad. But honestly, at like 3.42 gear ratio, it's really not my thing. Now, I could just change the gear ratio, but that's gonna cost about $1,000. That's with parts and labor. It's not too pricey, but you know, it's just one of those things that you wish it could just come with a higher gear ratio from the start. I can live with this gear ratio, but I'd rather have somewhere around 410, possibly 3.73 would be okay. If it came stock, I'd probably just keep that. But I'd probably be changing the gear ratio down the road once I upgrade to an even bigger size tire and a bigger size lift. Ooh! Sorry guys for all the wind, it's pretty cold out there, so I decided to do the rest of this video in the inside of my truck. So yeah, another thing about the 3.42 gear ratio is the reason why people change those, even if you can just bear with how sluggish the vehicle gets, is that because when you put the bigger tires on and you have your stock gear ratio, it's going to be working your transmission and engine harder to turn those tires. It's the only way I can really explain it for you guys that don't really understand the gear ratio of vehicles is that if you're on a bike and you start going up a hill and the bike has gears, you're obviously going to be changing those gears to accommodate for the level of stress you're going to be putting on the bike for going up the hill. It's also going to be harder to turn the pedals. So that's the only way I can really explain it, but that kind of clears it up for at least when I think about it. But yeah, that's the fifth thing about what I hate about my 2013 Silverado. Now the sixth and final thing that I hate about my 2013 Silverado, which has a lift on it, is actually the suspension angles from the lift kit. Now the lift kit that I got is from Rough Country. It's one of the, probably the most actually hated on kit that you can buy with people having problems and issues. Now me personally, luckily I haven't had any issues with my lift kit, but the suspension angles are completely horrible. Everything's at an angle. It just looks really bad. I've taken this thing off-road quite a lot of times, haven't had any problems, but a lot of people do, and I can see why. You can just physically easily see that everything's not looking okay down there. But the reason for that being is that it's pretty much just a 3.5-inch leveling kit that I have on here, and it's the only thing that they accommodate for is the differential, and they drop that about 1 inch, which I don't even think is okay. I think it should be more, especially if it's a 3.5-inch lift, and nothing else is accommodated for it, so everything's just at an angle, and everything just looks like if you just take your hand, you put your finger in just the joint right here, everything looks like that. That's what everything looks like. Everything's just pressured like that down there, and it just doesn't look right, and the vehicle was not made to be like that. So that's why I need to change the suspension down the road, and it will happen. I will be going with the bigger one to really, you know, my vehicle will be happier if I do that. So that's why I want to do that as well. It's going to look better. Now I'm not all talk about this. Let me show you what these suspension angles look like, alright? Okay, so it's going to be a little hard to tell because both wheels are turned all the way, but if you look under here, you can just see that that should not be, the lower control arm should not be just at an angle like that. You can tell that the boot is just kind of weird looking. But if you look at everything else, everything's kind of down at an angle, especially the upper control arm. It should not be like that. Everything's been fine. Knock on wood. So those are the 6 things that I hate about my 2013 Chevrolet Silverado. Now, the things that I love about this truck actually outweigh the things that I hate. So it took me a while actually to find things that I actually hate about this truck, because I actually love this truck. And like I said before, I love it way more than the things that I hate. Like, I can bear with those things for the rest of the duration that this truck runs and drives perfectly. So I'll probably do a video about the 6 things that I actually love about this truck, which is going to be easy because there's just so many things. So it'll actually make it pretty hard because I'd have to pick out the 6 top things that I love about this truck, because I could probably go on forever about it. So if you guys enjoy this video, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. Thank you guys. Have a great one.